The vintage Polaroid tumbled out of his jacket pocket like a chilling revelation. It was no ordinary photo. It was one of those classic Polaroids that slowly revealed its secrets, unfolding shades of truth before your eyes. I stood there, my hands shaking, as I retrieved it from the bedroom floor. Initially, the image eluded my understanding, but then the truth crashed over me like a wave. The photograph captured two figures locked in a passionate embrace, betrayal frozen in glossy paper. I instantly recognized my husband David by the familiar curve of his shoulders and the distinctive birthmark on his back. However, the woman in the photo obscured her face, her hair shielding her identity with calculated precision. There was a nagging sense of familiarity about her. I remained immobilized in our bedroom, the room we had painted together last spring, cheekily debating over hues of seascape blue and ocean mist. The wedding venue now felt claustrophobic, the walls suffocating me with their bright colors that seemed to taunt everything I believed about my life. I heard David's voice downstairs, announcing his early return. The sound of his keys clinking in the ceramic bowl I had crafted myself as a birthday gift echoed through the house. A birthday that he had forgotten until his mother reminded him. I quickly pocketed the photo and took a moment to steady myself with 3 deep breaths. I had always prided myself on keeping my composure, staying rational, and acting as the peacemaker in my family, never losing control. Yet, a primal instinct stirred within me, a desire to scream until my voice went hoarse. Instead, I applied a fresh coat of lipstick and made my way downstairs. "Hey you." He greeted me with a smile, that familiar dimple showing on his left cheek. The same dimple that had won me over at my best friend's wedding. Was he always such a good actor? "I was thinking we could order takeout tonight. Maybe from that Thai place you like." I nodded, observing his face closely for any hints of. His flawless performance that hinted at a double life seemed impeccable to me. Despite my racing heart, I managed to maintain a casual tone as we spoke. Later that night, as he slept peacefully beside me, I couldn't help but wonder how he could rest so undisturbed while harboring such betrayal. I decided to bide my time, sensing that there was more to uncover beyond the mere affair. The image of the woman he was involved with lingered in my mind, silhouette strikingly familiar in ways that unsettled me. In the following weeks, I found myself transformed into someone unrecognizable, consumed by the need to investigate. I snooped through his phone while he showered, shadowed him during his late meetings, and meticulously combed through credit card statements for any signs of his infidelity. My discoveries only deepened my suspicions, as I uncovered evidence of a hidden phone, purchases of jewelry never gifted to me, and the lingering scent of unfamiliar perfume on his clothes. However, the most troubling revelations came from the text messages I finally accessed after figuring out his password, our anniversary date. The irony not lost on me, they revealed an intimacy beyond the physical. Inside jokes, morning messages, plans for the future. This wasn't just sex. This was an emotional affair, possibly something deeper than what he had with me. The messages never mentioned her name, just my love or sometimes S. The messages referenced shared childhood memories, which struck me as odd. David hadn't grown up here. He'd moved to Boston for college and stayed. His childhood friends were all back in Seattle. Then came the text that shattered everything. "Can't wait for family dinner Sunday. Acting normal around her gets harder every time. Family dinner. My family dinner." A monthly gathering at my parents' house that David had been attending for years. The mistress wasn't just someone I knew. She was family. The realization hit me like ice water through my veins. I dropped the phone, my mind racing through possibilities. My cousin Emma. My aunt Jennifer. I recently went through a divorce with my brother's new wife, and the pain I felt was unlike anything I had experienced before. It was a sense of betrayal compounded by betrayal, unfolding at the family dinner table. That night, I couldn't sleep as I found myself consumed with thoughts of planning and seeking revenge. Growing up in a family of 4 siblings, I had learned that in moments of anger, getting back at someone was the only way to alleviate the pain. The Sunday family dinner approached slowly, and I spent the morning dealing with bouts of anxiety and nausea, followed by carefully applying makeup to conceal the shadows under my eyes. David appeared almost gleeful as he changed clothes multiple times, settling on the blue button-down shirt I had gifted him for Christmas. This compliment about my appearance felt superficial as we arrived at my parents' house, leaving me to wonder if he addressed his new wife in the same manner. My mother warmly welcomed us at the door with her familiar gardenia-scented embrace. "Sarah, dear, and David, please come in. Everyone is already here," she said. The word everyone resonated in my mind like a whispered warning. Warning arrived as the bell chimed throughout the house. As I surveyed the living room, I searched for any subtle hints that might disclose the identity of the person who was having an affair with my husband. My older brother Tom and his wife Melissa were seated on the couch, their twin toddlers playing nearby. My father engaged in a heated political debate with my uncle while my younger brother Michael and his fiancée sat at the table. And there was my baby sister Lily, 25 years old compared to my 32, beloved by the family for her artistic talents and carefree nature. She had returned from Paris 3 months ago after completing her art fellowship, coinciding with the time when David's late meetings became more frequent. Embracing me tightly, Lily expressed how much she had missed me and suggested that we catch up properly. Although I mechanically returned her hug, my gaze remained fixed on David as he entered the room. His lingering glance towards Lily revealed everything I needed to know. This was the same sister I had protected from bullies, helped with her college application essays, and supported with money when she was in need. And Europe, my sister, whom I always supported, was facing difficulties. During dinner, I observed the subtle dynamics between her and her partner. The carefully maintained distance, the avoidance of direct conversation, the seemingly casual disinterest. But I could see through the facade, the faint blush on Lily's cheeks when David reached for the salt, his discreet touch on her wrist as he passed the bread basket. "You're quiet tonight, Sarah," my mother remarked, serving me more pot roast. I couldn't bring myself to eat it. "Is everything all right with your new promotion?" she asked. "Everything's fine," I lied, feeling David's touch on my knee under the table. A gesture that once brought me solace now filled me with revulsion. "Just tired from work," Lily interjected. "Sarah's always working too hard. Remember how she missed her own graduation party because she was finishing that project?" She laughed, flipping her hair I now recognized from the photograph. Always the responsible one while she was. The fun one, the creative one, the one everyone admired, and now seemingly the one who stole what belonged to me. As she, Lily, desired it after dinner, I politely excused myself to the restroom and spotted Lily's purse on the counter. Was it an intrusion of privacy or a necessary fact-finding mission? I chose the latter and swiftly located her phone, easily unlocking it with the passcode she had used since our high school days. Our childhood dog's birthday. Inside were countless messages with David, disturbing photos, plans, and pledges. "I've never felt this way before," David had written. "It's as if you understand parts of me Sarah never could. We are meant to be together." My sister responded, "But we must tread carefully until we figure out how to tell her. She's quite fragile, you know how she reacts. How I react. How I apparently behave. As if I were a burden they needed to handle." The final blow came in a message from the day prior. "What if we eloped? Start into somewhere. Sarah will move on eventually. She's always been sensitive." They were planning to attack me with their strength, using the justification of my own strength. I captured their scheming in photographs, my hands trembling so violently that I had to lean against the sink for support. A faint knock interrupted me. "Sarah, are you all right in there?" Lily's voice, filled with concern and tenderness, reminded me of the times she had sought solace in my presence, sharing her tears when her first boyfriend had betrayed her. She had always believed in the unbreakable bond of sisterhood and the importance of blood ties. "I'll be right out," I replied, masking the turmoil within me with a calm facade. Upon rejoining them, Lily embraced me, a rare display of affection. "You really seem worn out, sis. Maybe you should consider taking a break," she suggested. As I gazed into her eyes, mirroring my own, I detected no remorse or regret, only a carefully rehearsed act of caring. During the car ride home, David inquired about stopping for ice cream, customary indulgence. I declined, citing a headache, as he switched on the radio. I filled the silence in our home office by humming along to a pop song about everlasting love. As I gazed out the window at passing streetlights, I whispered to myself, I gave everything to them. That night, they discarded me as if I meant nothing. While David slumbered, I sat and made a list. Not of what I'd lost, but of what I intended to reclaim: my dignity, my power, my life. If they thought of me as weak, they were in for a surprise. Many believe that revenge stems from fiery, immediate anger, a quick response to betrayal. They're mistaken. True revenge is calculated, patient, and cold. Its purpose is not only to cause pain, but to impart a lesson. I was ready to be the most effective teacher my husband and sister had ever encountered. For the next 2 weeks, I lived a dual existence. By day, I was Sarah, the devoted wife, cooking David's favorite dishes, listening to his work anecdotes, and engaging in intimacy that left me feeling empty but preserved my facade. At night, under the cover of darkness while he slept peacefully, I would stare at the strap. Ted started by making plans, gathering information, and ensuring security. I needed to fully understand the extent of their betrayal. One evening during dinner, I discreetly installed a tracking app on David's phone. While he was occupied, I discreetly placed a small recording device in his car disguised as an air freshener. Additionally, I hired a private investigator using funds from a separate account unbeknownst to David. What I uncovered was more devastating than I had anticipated. The affair didn't begin 3 months ago as I thought, but over a year ago. While I was occupied caring for my mother after her surgery, David had been providing comfort to Lily during that period. Furthermore, the Paris fellowship was a sham. My parents had been assisting with Lily's living expenses, while she had been residing with David in a rented apartment elsewhere in town. The level of deception was staggering, especially during my work-related travels. Those closest to me had constructed an intricate web of lies, constantly manipulating and misleading me. When my intuition hinted at the deceit, and I confronted David about it. When I mentioned to Lily that David seemed distant, he suggested I see a therapist for my paranoia. Lily advised me to give him space and focus on myself. They had been manipulating me all this time, making me doubt my instincts. But what they didn't know was that I was always methodical. While David saw me as emotional and Lily thought me naive, they forgot that I was the one managing our investments, negotiating our mortgage, and carefully planning our shared life. Over the years, I had been gathering evidence, not out of suspicion, but out of organization. Every financial document, legal paper, and record of our life together were digitized, backed up, and easily accessible. My organizational skills now served a new purpose. I uncovered David's scheme of funneling money from our joint account into a separate one for their future together. Luckily, I had maintained separate accounts he knew nothing about, and I quietly secured my inheritance. Inheritance, along with half of our joint savings, had been secured, not stolen, before he could attempt to take what was rightfully mine. I sought advice from a divorce attorney based in a different city to maintain privacy within our social circle. Detailing the affair, financial inconsistencies, and manipulative behavior, I was provided with a legal and financial protective strategy. When I inquired about emotional support, she replied that it was not within her scope. Reflecting on her words, I realized the importance of safeguarding oneself from further harm to aid in the healing process. Striving not only for defense but also for justice, I meticulously gathered evidence, saving text conversations, documenting meetings, keeping records of hotel expenses and gifts exchanged. I managed to retrieve emails from supposedly secret accounts and even discover a rental agreement for their clandestine love nest signed by both parties. However, the most crucial piece of information was intelligence was unexpectedly revealed through a conversation with my mother during a casual lunch. She expressed her excitement about Lily's upcoming art exhibition, highlighting the significance of the opportunity and how even my father, who typically disapproved of Lily's choice of career, was impressed. As I casually sipped my iced tea, I inquired about the venue of the exhibition, to which my mother mentioned it would be held at the Hartman Gallery. She also mentioned how David, my brother-in-law, had been instrumental in helping Lily secure this opportunity through his connections with a client, Mitchell Hartman, who owned the gallery. As the pieces of information connected in my mind, I realized the complexity of the situation. It dawned on me that Lily was not only involved with my husband, but was also leveraging the relationship for professional advancement. Furthermore, David was not only betraying me with my sister, but was also jeopardizing his professional integrity by mixing business with personal affairs. This exhibition was not just important to Lily. It was her breakthrough moment, a validation of her talent and ambition. And she'd been seeking from our father her entire life, and for David securing the Hartman account meant partnership prestige, the success he'd been chasing since we met that night. I made a call to an old college friend who now worked as an arts reporter for the Boston Chronicle. We stayed in touch over the years, meeting for coffee every few months. I'd attended her wedding. She'd sent flowers when my grandmother died. "Rebecca, it's Sarah. I have a story you might be interested in." I didn't tell her everything, just that I had evidence of ethical impropriety involving the Hartman Gallery's upcoming exhibition. Conflict of interest that compromised the integrity of both the gallery and the artists being featured. "Send me what you have," she said, professional curiosity piqued. "If there's a story, I'll run it." I scheduled the email to send to her the morning of the family dinner I was hosting the following Sunday. The dinner to which I'd invited both our families to celebrate David's upcoming partnership. An important announcement: the upcoming dinner now held a completely new significance. The missing piece of the puzzle finally clicked into place after I received a call from the private investigator. "Mrs. Campbell, I have the details you requested," he confirmed. "They're planning to meet tomorrow at the rental property." Drawing on their past behavior, he estimated they would be present from 2:00 p.m. until 5:00 p.m. David saw this timing as perfect. While Lily believed he would be attending a day-long work retreat, and the excuse given to his mother was a medical appointment, his actual plan was to set the stage for the final showdown. Upon hanging up, a strange calm descended on him. It wasn't exactly happiness. That emotion seemed distant. Rather, it was a sense of empowerment. The kind that arises from being 10 steps ahead of those who believed he was 10 steps behind. They had been playing one game while thinking he was playing another. However, the match wasn't over yet. As Sunday dawned, with its warm and bright early summer promises, this perfect day that would have previously brought joy felt wholly different. The morning was spent preparing an elaborate meal. David's favorite roast beef, Lily's preferred lemon tart for dessert, my mother's treasured family recipes. The dining room table was set with our wedding china and crystal glasses, catching the light and scattering tiny rainbows across the white tablecloth. Everything looked perfect, a tableau of family harmony about to be shattered. My parents arrived first, my father bringing the expensive wine he'd been saving for a special occasion, my mother fussing over the flowers I'd arranged. My brother and his wife came next, apologizing for being a few minutes late. David was in the kitchen, playing the role of a helpful husband, unaware that in 24 hours the locks would be changed. Lily arrived last, offering me a sisterly hug that made my skin crawl. She was wearing a new dress, one I later recognized from receipts I'd found in David's email. She had brought artisanal chocolates from that boutique shop we discovered together years ago on a sister's weekend. "You look amazing," she gushed, her eyes flickering briefly to David. "This is so nice of you to put together," she said. If only she knew we gathered around the table, glasses raised in a toast that David led. "To family," he said, his voice warm with fake sincerity, "into new beginnings." New beginnings, indeed. The meal progressed with practiced normalcy. Compliments on the food, discussions about politics, gentle teasing between siblings. I played my part flawlessly, laughing at the right moments, refilling wine glasses, passing dishes, all while the tablet connected to our home entertainment system sat innocuously on the sideboard, ready with its cue presentation. As dessert was served, I stood, tapping my glass with a spoon. "I want to thank everyone for coming today," I began, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "As you know, we're here to celebrate David's hard work and the partnership he's been working toward." David beamed, reaching for my hand across the table. I allowed the contact one last time. "But before we toast to future success," I thought, "it would be heartwarming to reflect on the journey that led us to this point." I prepared a brief presentation in the form of a slideshow. With a press of the remote control, the large television screen in the dining room flickered to life. The slideshow began with tender moments, images of David and I at our wedding, family gatherings, and holiday festivities. My mother expressed her appreciation with soft sounds, and my father nodded in approval. However, the mood soon shifted. "This past year has been quite revealing," I remarked as the screen displayed the initial text message exchanged between David and Lily, where they first acknowledged their attraction. A heavy silence filled the room as the photos from the private investigator revealed David and Lily entering their secret apartment, sharing embraces on the street, and evidence of secret financial transactions. "Sarah, what is the meaning of this?" David's voice trembled and his expression paled. I chose to ignore his question, continuing my narrative. "I've also gained valuable insights." The discussion shifted to the topic of business ethics, especially in relation to the upcoming exhibition at the Hartman Gallery. Lily felt the wave of panic washing over her as she tried to intervene. "Sarah, please stop." "You don't understand," she exclaimed. Disregarding her plea, I interjected with an eerie calmness in my voice. "I understand perfectly. I understand that while I was busy building a life with my husband and supporting my sister, you two were busy destroying everything I held dear." On the screen, an email that I had sent to Mitchell Hartman the previous night was displayed, highlighting the unethical nature of a quid pro quo arrangement involving his gallery. His prompt response read, "This exhibition is canceled effective immediately. My association with both parties is terminated." Lily let out a choked sound, realizing that her big break had evaporated. I continued by sending an email to David's firm, providing evidence of how he had compromised client relationships for personal gain. The partner's reply was concise yet impactful. "We need to discuss your future with the firm, being scheduled for Monday at 9:00 a.m. David, overwhelmed with anger, abruptly stood up, causing his wine glass to tumble over. You had no right, he insisted. Unmoved, I calmly asserted, I had every right to. Finally, I found the courage to speak up. Years of suppressed emotions came flooding out. You betrayed me by sleeping with my sister in our bed, with plans to leave me and take half of everything I had worked so hard for, gaslighting me, making me doubt my instincts. My family reacted with shock and heartbreak. My mother in tears, my father in disbelief, and my brother ready to defend me. Looking at my sister, whom I had always protected and supported, I questioned if it was worth destroying me for your own twisted pleasure. Seeing genuine shame on her face for the first time, not just regret at being caught, but actual shame, I couldn't bear it. Save it, I interrupted her attempts to apologize. Her career in the art world here is over. I've sent an email to every gallery owner in Boston, and tomorrow's paper will tell the full story, keeping your names anonymous for now. How you both choose to handle the aftermath will determine whether your names are revealed. On the table, I placed a manila envelope containing divorce papers. David, my lawyer, has already. I have already prepared the documents. Please sign them. If you agree to my conditions, I won't pursue a public investigation into your professional misconduct. Next to the documents, you will find a second envelope containing a legal agreement that states you are relinquishing any claim to our parents' property in their will, equal to the amount I spent supporting you over the years, plus interest. If you sign this agreement, I will refrain from sharing the more personal aspects of your betrayal with our mutual friends and professional contacts. David abruptly moved forward, expressing his anger. However, my brother quickly intervened, warning him not to finish his sentence. Our father finally spoke, addressing Lily in a tone filled with disappointment. When Lily couldn't meet his gaze, it spoke volumes. My mother, obviously shaken, suggested that both of you leave the house immediately. At that moment, a shift occurred within our family dynamics. The sibling who had always been favored was now marginalized, and the once charming son-in-law was revealed in a different light. As David's true nature was revealed, I gathered my belongings with a sense of empty vindication and a glimmer of newfound liberation. Their betrayal had not only been exposed, but I had also reclaimed my own strength. As they made their way to the door, I couldn't help but speak out one last time. The saddest part is that I would have done anything for both of you. Anything. And yet you chose to throw it all away for a foundation built on deceit. After their departure, my family enveloped me with unwavering support, catching me off guard. My brother reached out to a divorce lawyer friend, my father offered financial assistance if needed, and my mother simply embraced me as tears finally flowed. The empire that David and Lily had constructed through my suffering had crumbled in just half an hour of undeniable proof. Despite my wounds, I still stood tall while they faltered. Fast forward a year later, I found myself on the balcony of my new apartment, witnessing the mesmerizing sunset casting a golden and pink hue over the Boston skyline. The echoing laughter from inside served as a reminder of the newfound joy and peace that now filled my life. I watched from the living room as my parents, brother, and a few close friends gathered to celebrate my promotion. The divorce had been finalized 6 months ago, quicker and cleaner than most. This was largely because David had no ground to stand on after the evidence I had presented. He lost the partnership opportunity but managed to keep his job after extensive damage control. The last I heard, he had transferred to the Seattle office, as far from Boston as he could reasonably get. Lily had moved back to Paris, ostensibly to focus on her art. In reality, it was to escape the social fallout. She had written me several lengthy apology letters that sat unopened in my desk drawer. Maybe someday I would read them, maybe not. My mother still spoke to her occasionally but respected my need for distance. Some wounds might heal eventually, but others change you permanently. Hey, successful lady, my friend Rebecca joined me on the balcony, handing me a glass of champagne. Rebecca had written the article exposing the gallery scandal. She had kept her promise to omit names from the conversation. What are you thinking about? I asked, smiling and tapping my glass against hers. Just contemplating trajectories. How you believe your life is headed in one direction and suddenly find yourself on a completely different path, she interjected. Is it better or worse? I pondered the question honestly. Different, more challenging in some ways, but undeniably more authentic to who I am, I admitted. The pain of betrayal still lingered, manifesting unexpectedly at times. Like when I reached for David's favorite cereal in the grocery store or stumbled upon old photos of my sister Lily and me reminiscing about our close bond. Yet these moments had become less frequent, overshadowed by new experiences, accomplishments, and relationships built on trust and honesty. My therapist. Yes, I finally sought professional help, not because of manipulation, but because I deserved support. Explained how trauma alters brain chemistry, shaping a new reality. You remember? She once told me to stay the same person I was, albeit with a touch of difference. And she was right. I didn't diminish, but grew stronger in the fractured pieces of my past. In the aftermath of the divorce, I decided to sell the house I had kept and move into a new apartment that solely reflected my taste and preferences. No longer shackled by compromised decisions or memories of betrayal. Furthermore, my relationships had evolved. My bond with my parents had deepened, shedding old family dynamics that had left me feeling overlooked. Especially my father, who had shown me a tenderness I had long yearned for. As the attention turned towards Lily at that momentous family gathering, I jokingly beckoned my brother to join in the revelry. Stepping back inside, I found solace in the warm embrace of my chosen family, those who had supported me through my toughest times. These were the people who stood by my side, tested and true. Surrounded by friends and colleagues who admired my work rather than sympathized with my personal struggles, I raised my glass in a toast and caught a glimpse of my reflection in the window. I saw myself standing tall, with clear eyes and a genuinely happy smile on my face, a stark contrast to the mask I had worn during the final weeks of my marriage. As I began to speak, expressing my gratitude for their presence, I reflected on the past year. What I once thought was the loss of everything important to me turned out to be a discovery of what truly matters. After the guest had left and I was left in my peaceful apartment, I opened the balcony door to let the soothing night air envelop me. I pondered on the betrayals, the pain, and the process of rebuilding. Some might call my actions a form of revenge, but I saw it as a pursuit of justice, not just for myself, but for anyone who had felt unseen by those meant to love them the most. Being betrayed by those closest to you forces a decision. Will you allow it to break you, or will you rise above it? Will you use it to uncover your inner power? I opted for strength. I opted for self-empowerment. And in the calm aftermath of devastation, I stumbled upon something surprising, the liberty to construct a life that truly belonged to me. No concessions, no deceit, no obscurity. Certain lessons come at a high price, but once grasped, they become an inherent part of you.